you get frustrated at your spouse for little things sometimes that they think are little, but you don't seem to think so? Do you get frustrated with your parents sometimes for continually pointing out little shortcomings here and there about you, or judging you, or giving you unsolicited advice? Well, what if I told you that once you learn to master your 8th house, you can get rid of these things forever? Once you master your shadows in your 8th house, your spouse will not be making those remarks that once bothered you. And your parents will stop giving you that unsolicited advice that you always wanted to stop. It's that simple. So let's talk about your 8th house. That's where all of your shadows are. So in this video, we're going to talk about your 8th house. What is your 8th house? Second, we'll talk about why do we fear the 8th house? And next, we're going to talk about how do we decode your shadow work by planet? And lastly, what do we need to do with the spiritual gold that's sitting in your 8th house? Let's get started. So we all have shadows, the parts of ourselves we deny, we fear, and we lock it away. You can spend years meditating and affirming, but if you don't face your shadow, your spiritual growth will always hit a ceiling. Let me give you a quick, powerful example. So imagine your spouse, they have their side of the family over and they are serving them dessert. Now your spouse offers the dessert to all the guests, but simply forgets to ask you. It's not out of malice, but because they're focused on hosting. You, however, take this as a deep insult. You conclude, my spouse doesn't love me enough to take care of me instead. This reaction isn't about the dessert. It reveals a deep inner child wound. Perhaps your parents often overlooked your choices. They focused more attention on relatives or siblings. So your spouse isn't causing the pain. They're bringing an old wound to the forefront so you can finally analyze and heal it. If you understood this process, you wouldn't get upset. You would actually be thanking your spouse for helping you both fulfill a spiritual contract for soul evolution that you two have, and your wound will be cleared, and the anxiety that it caused will vanish away. Now, in Vedic astrology, this exact mechanism of hidden trauma and spiritual evolution is governed by the 8th house. This is the house of crises, surgery, trauma, secrets, and other people's power. It's where the deepest, the most difficult transformations occur. So today we're going to go into the 8th house and bringing its secrets into the light to assess your hidden power. So, why do we fear the 8th house? The 8th house governs the non-negotiable, intensely private moments of our life, like sudden loss, deep intimacy, which is what was happening in the example I gave you, your inheritance, your shared resources. So it's scary because it represents a complete loss of control over what you thought was yours. Now, when the Lord of the 8th house, its ruling planet, it's activated by transit or time period, your life is going to force a transformation. And wherever the 8th house Lord sits in your chart, that area of your life is also disturbed during this time. This disturbance often manifests as sudden, crippling anxiety, unexpected illness, relationship turmoil, or financial crisis. It feels like the universe is attacking you. So we fear the 8th house because we fear surrender. We fear the death of an old identity. But remember this. The biggest gold in your chart is buried here. Until you dig it up, your power remains suppressed. Your soul evolution is suppressed. So let's decode this shadow work by planet. The planet placed in your 8th house defines the precise theme of your shadow work and the identity you must surrender to evolve. So let's talk about Sun or Mars in the 8th house. Your shadow is about ego, anger, control. You must learn to surrender your need to be right and face your suppressed aggression constructively, and let go of the need for external validation of your power. Your transformation involves using your will for healing, not domination. What if you have Venus in your 8th house? Your shadow is about value, consumption, and entitlement. You must confront your deep-seated beliefs about wealth, scarcity, and intimacy. What you feel you're owed in relationships versus what you're willing to just give without expectation. What if you have Mercury in the 8th house? Your shadow is about truth and secrets. You must face the lies that you tell yourself or the crucial secrets that you keep from others. Your transformation comes through ruthless self-honesty and becoming a clear, powerful channel for deep information. What if you have Moon in your 8th house? Your shadow is about emotional security and intimacy. You must confront the deep-seated fears of abandonment and learn to process and release the toxic emotional baggage from your childhood or past lives rather than clinging to it for safety. What if you have Jupiter in the 8th? Your shadow is about belief and dogma. You must face where your faith is weak or where your outdated beliefs and moral superiority that you think is preventing deep connection. Your work is to release dogmatic thinking and gain a truly profound universal understanding of life. What if you have Saturn in the 8th? Your shadow is about fear and control through structure. You must confront your fear of death, loss, and vulnerability. Your work will involve facing a long-standing pattern of emotional rigidity and learning that true longevity is built on inner depth, not external defense. What if you have Rahu? Your shadow is about obsession and intensity. You're drawn compulsively towards the 8th house themes of secrets, trauma, and other people's resources. What is your work? Your work is to temper this desire with wisdom, turning obsession into mastery and research. If you have Ketu in the 8th house, your shadow is about detachment and fear of merging. You may feel emotionally isolated or struggle with deep intimacy. Your work is to actively participate, commit, and use your natural intuitive detachment to master healing and spiritual knowledge for the world. So let's talk about your spiritual gold now in the 8th house. It's also called the Phoenix transformation. It's the beautiful, rewarding secret of the 8th house. Okay? It's the house of regeneration. Whatever is purified here comes back 100 times stronger, giving you power others can only dream of. So if you have Venus in the 8th house and you process your shadow of entitlement and scarcity, you rise so high in love and wealth that you can draw resources, partnerships, the abundance to you just effortlessly. You become a master of intimate, powerful connection. Love just comes to you. If you have Sun in the 8th house and you surrender your shadow of ego, control, you don't lose your power. You become a potent spiritual authority and a healer. Your light burns away the darkness for others. If you have Moon in the 8th house and you face your fear of emotional abandonment, then what do? You transform into a powerful psychic channel. Your emotional depth becomes your superpower, allowing you to intuitively feel and heal the soul wounds of others. If you have Mercury in the 8th house and you embrace ruthless honesty, like I told you, you gain the ability to communicate profound hidden truths. You can become a masterful writer, researcher, or teacher who sees behind the veil of life's illusions. If you have Jupiter in the 8th house and you release that rigid dogma I told you about, your faith transforms into unbreakable wisdom. You become a guide for those facing life's greatest losses, embodying profound and expansive spiritual knowledge. Yes, you do end up feeling like you were burnt into ashes by the initial crisis. You do. But you will rise like the phoenix. Your shadow is not a weakness. It's raw, untransformed power. You are mining the gold that everyone else is too afraid to dig up. So, what do we need to do here? Well, we need to stop running from our crisis. We need to stop using anxiety as an excuse to avoid the inevitable transformation. Go into your 8th house, your secret power chamber, and reclaim the energy you spent denying. When you voluntarily dive into your shadow, the energy you free up doesn't just clear up your anxiety. It becomes a regenerative power that you can use to build your purpose, your purpose-driven life. This is the moment your spiritual contract comes due, and the payment is worth the reward, trust me. Your life is waiting for you to surrender the fear and claim that gold. So take the first step now. Tell me in the comments, which planet is sitting in your 8th house? And what shadow theme do you need to face this week? Let's start the conversation about your transformation. This might help other people too. If you found this video helpful, please share it with others. And also hit the like button so I know that you're liking it. I'll make more content like this that would help you. Here, I am committed to giving you the tools to read your own map and start living your destiny. So do your good deed of the day. Share this video with someone that you think might be struggling. This may be their way out of that struggle and into pure bliss. Again, thank you for watching.